If you've seen any of my videos using Simon Hurley Lunar Paste or Neon Paste or Astro Paste, you know that I love these mediums. They add lots of color and shine super easily to your card projects. So I was so excited to hear that there are 3 new colors of Astro Paste. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and in today's video I'll be sharing the 3 new colors of Simon Hurley for Rangers Astro Paste, which is the glitter paste, and I'll be sharing a couple of new stamps and some matching dies. So let's check out those new Astro Paste colors. I love swatching out my colors to see how they look on black cardstock and white cardstock. I already have an entire swatch book of all the other Astro Paste, Lunar Paste, Neon Paste, and what I usually do is cut out tags in both white and black cardstock. This is refined copper. This is one of the new colors. So what I like to do is just have a swipe of it on black cardstock and a swipe of it on white cardstock. What you'll notice while I'm putting the color down is that it looks whitish within the glitter. That white part is the paste that will clear when it dries. So it will dry clear, and then all you'll see is that fabulous glitter and the shine of the paste. Same thing on the white. You can see that there's a whitish tinge to the paste. Don't worry, it will dry clear. What I want here is a swipe that is thick enough to see the glitter and the color that it creates on white and black cardstock, but thin enough that it won't take an eon to dry. Now that you will kind of just learn as you use different consistencies and thicknesses of the paste on your projects. So my thing is always start with less, see how it looks for you. If you feel like it's too minimal, then add some more. And so I've kind of gotten a feel for Astro Paste and how I like it to look. And so you can see these swatches come out exactly the way I want them to look. This is silver lining. Absolutely beautiful on both white and dark cardstock. Lots of silver glitter in there. This is the refined copper again. Such a beautiful color as well as shine to this. And you can use these colors because they're kind of neutrals on a lot of different cards. And last up is cookie dough. Now, cookie dough has sort of, it looks like if you're not looking at it next to anything else, maybe has a goldish tone to it. But when I show you other colors of the Astro Paste, you'll see that cookie dough is actually more of a champagne look. Here are some of the other really wonderful, vibrant colors. You can get an entire set of Astro Paste, which will have all that rainbow, as well as these new neutrals. Now let me show you the new stamps and dies that are available. This is the new Space Friends clear stamp set. So much fun. There's both little dogs, cats, and little aliens. There's an astronaut, as well as a rocket and an asteroid. There's lots in this stamp set. There are also some really great sentiments, and I'll use them throughout the video as well. This is the planetary stamp set. This is a cling mounted foam stamp set, which means that you're going to get some really great images from here. And when I say that, I mean that all that little detail in the planet is going to appear in ink when you stamp it out. So I've decided to stamp all of the planets together on an A2 piece of white cardstock so that you get to see all of them. And I'm stamping them in an array of Simon Hurley inks. I'm using an entire rainbow of Simon's inks to show you how gorgeous and bright some of these colors are and really create such a great rainbow. So I thought that this would be something a little bit different. Normally I would do planets in, say, embossing and use maybe gold or silver on dark cardstock. So I thought something a little bit different would be really fun for these planets. Now I have kind of a purplish pink and a bright pink next to each other. That was my bad. I screwed that up as far as placement, but the rest of them, you can see all of that detail that you get from those cling mounted foam stamps. Now let's take those new colors of Astro Paste and the new stamps and dies and create a few cards. For this first card, I will use the planetary stamps that I stamped out in a rainbow of cardstock, and I'll use a sentiment from the Space Friends stamp set. It says, "Cheers to another trip around the sun." Now, I've cut this panel down so that it is 4 1/4 on the side, but it's short on the top and bottom. So I'm using a black piece of A2 cardstock, and I'm adding some of the silver lining Astro Paste just to the top and bottom of that cardstock. I'm using a tool and I'm swiping that just at the top and at the bottom, so I don't need to cover the entire piece of cardstock with glitter since I'm going to place that card panel in the center. But I do want the edges to be covered, so where I accidentally wiped off too much of the paste or the glitter itself, I did grab some more and place it back down. So again, this is one of those things where sometimes you will end up over swiping. You don't want to over swipe because then you'll end up just re-picking up the Astro Paste, and you don't want that. But I did want it to be pretty consistent looking, and that's why I went over it a couple of times just to really make sure that, especially at the very ends of the cardstock, that I have glitter showing, because that's really what's going to show once I place that card panel down. Next, I'll take some liquid adhesive and place it all through that center piece of cardstock. That's going to grab the paper on top, but I'm also placing dots of that liquid adhesive on the bottom area of each of the glitter at the top and the bottom, because I really want to make sure that the cardstock stays in place and doesn't curl up at the top or the bottom. So you can see how I cut it so that it's short at the top and short at the bottom, so that glitter really stands out at the top and bottom as a border. For this next card, I'll use the cookie dough Astro Paste, and this time I'm creating what I am trying to replicate is the look of galaxies. So the whole idea of kind of an oval shaped array of lights that would recreate the look of two galaxies on this A2 piece of very dark blue cardstock. As I mentioned, that white area of the paste will dry clear, and we'll just see the glitter like we saw once all of the other elements were dry in the swatches. So I'll place those down and wait for them to dry. And then once they're dry, I have some of the Space Friends images stamped, colored, and die cut. I love that you have the dies there. Now, this stamp is one of the cling mounted stamps from Planetary. It is a long strip of stars, little teeny tiny stars, which I thought would look great on the top, bottom, and sides of these galaxies. So I'm stamping them in embossing ink after I've treated the cardstock with anti-static embossing powder. And then once I have them all stamped out, I'll add my embossing powder. The great thing about the stamp wheel is that you can place the stamp down once and rotate it 4 times so that you get each side and top and bottom, which you can't do with most stamp positioners. You would have to reposition it at least once because you would only be able to flip the cardstock upside and down. Now I'll use a different blue background for my sentiment just so that it stands out a little bit from that background. Also, I'll be using some white embossing powder for the sentiment. And then I will heat set that, and you can see I placed it at the bottom of that cardstock and also flush to the left. That's because I'm going to cut it out into a rectangle. Here I'm heat setting those stars that I embossed on that dark background, and look at how pretty those stars are. It really does make it look like outer space with the galaxies and then those little stars sprinkled throughout the sides and the top and bottom. Now I'll just pop up those elements from the Space Friends stamp set, and you use just 4 of them, so I have a few more that I also stamped and colored and die cut for another card. But I love the look of the cookie dough as galaxies. For this card, I'll use the Simon Hurley Starry Night Emboss and Cut. This is a 3D embossing folder, so I'll use the Spellbinders Mighty Mister to mist the cardstock. Then I'll place the die. It will sit in the opposite what you think is the front So you'll put it kind of in the back and then place the cardstock over top and then close the embossing folder and then run it through the die cut machine with the adapter plate from Spellbinders to get a really great impression. It will cut and emboss in one pass, which is so much fun. Then I'll just trim it off because it's actually meant for a slimline card, but I really want to use it just at the top of my A2 card. So next I'll use the available stencil. You can get a bundle with all three items together, the die, the embossing folder, and the stencil, or you can get the embossing folder and die together and then get the stencil separately. So up to you how you want to grab these items. I like having all three because then you have lots of options on how you're going to create with them. So I also have one of the sentiments from Space Friends that I've stamped out and embossed in white embossing powder. It says, "You are out of this world amazing," which I think is just such a great sentiment. Now I have this stencil lined up on top of the embossed stars, and I'm using a combination of swiping with a palette knife and then also dabbing with my finger just to get different layers and textures on there. For the third color, I'm not using the stencil. I'm just patting it onto the stars that have not been covered yet with either silver lining or cookie dough. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want to wait for the second layer to dry. So you can have a little fun with figuring out how you want to add those Astro Pastes on top, whether you just use your finger, whether you use the stencil, all kinds of ways. And you can see that you get a different look from the three of them, which I think is kind of neat for a starry background because not all stars look completely regular and like each other. So here I have a few more of those characters from the Space Friends stamp set, and I'll add those with some foam adhesive. I did end up adding glossy accents to those helmets and to the little aliens' eyes. I didn't end up filming that, but I just wanted to add it out there as a suggestion if you have this stamp set. I don't know about you, but I love Astro Paste because there is no loose glitter to mess around with, and it still creates the most glittery, beautiful effect on my cards. But I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't seen the original Astro Paste video that I created a while back when they first came out, I'm gonna link to that here. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Just right in time before a bark, I think. Hopefully I didn't get the end of that bark, but it's okay. Fine, whatever. It was a bark.